unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
What is up, everybody? This is Hater Radio. My name is Chris McLean. I'm here with my co-host, Ian Gibson. How are you, Ian?
I'm doing very good right now.
Hey, so this is week 8 of the season. We're just going to jump right into it. We do a preview show every Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, so here's the preview show. Okay, the first game we have is Oregon-Purdue. Oregon coming off that huge win against Ohio State. You know, this feels like a trap game, but Purdue is not very good. I've been looking at their past scores the last couple of weeks. Got handedly beat by Nebraska, destroyed by Wisconsin, and then a track meet with Illinois, which I don't think anybody saw coming. It was an overtime game, but that was 49-50. You know, this is one of those things where it's like Purdue in the past has taken on Ohio State and beaten them as like a 20-point underdog and won like, 40-20 or something like that. So it could potentially be that, but, Braum is no longer their head coach for Purdue, which he hasn't been there in a year and a half, but I just don't know how good this Purdue team is. I don't pay attention to them. No offense to them. It's just they're not very good right now. So I feel like this Oregon team is very solid on all phases of the game. Defense plays very stout, and the offense, obviously, against Ohio State, put up a lot of points. I feel like they're going to put up at least 40 in this game. I'm going to say like a 42 to like 20 game. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, so the history of this, obviously Purdue has history with the trap game. It would be like a top 10 team would go in and then they would, slay them. So that is what is on Oregon. And if Oregon plays like beginning of the year Oregon, it is a very real possibility that they can fall in that trap. The thing is that this Purdue team, they do have Hudson Card, who is a very capable quarterback, but this season against Division FBS teams, the least amount of points they've allowed in a game is 28, and that was against Nebraska. After that, they got blown out by Notre Dame. They gave up 66, gave up 50 to Wisconsin, and they were in a shootout with Illinois. Their defense, I think, is next to last in all of NCAA, and I think it's last in the Big Ten right now. So if Oregon plays, the game like they did against Ohio State and Oregon State, I think they're going to be, just fine. Make sure you don't fall into the trap and don't give Purdue any hope. But I think the Ducks will come out in this one. I'm going to go with a 38-17 win for Oregon.
Okay, next game we have, and that game is on Friday as well, and this game is on Friday too. Oklahoma State, BYU. We had talked about Oklahoma State earlier in the year because they had some bigger matchups. Arkansas, and then I believe Kansas State. Mm-hmm. And so they were like, ranked for a little while, but their offense is just not good. And they can't run the ball at all to save their life. And Bowman, I'm not the biggest fan of because he turns the ball over a ton. BYU is probably, now I said Oregon was pretty sound as far as offense and defense. I think BYU is probably the most sound team in all three phases of the game because they can score non-offensive touchdowns like no one else's business. And they've done that consistently all year. Defensively, very strong. They are, forcing teams into making a lot of mistakes and causing a lot of turnovers. This offense is not flashy, but it does, score enough points where the supplemental points they get from non-offensive touchdowns really is a difference there. And then, special teams, they've made a lot of plays there. And, this team might surprise people because, I don't think they were ranked to start the season. Now they're 6-0. They've kind of blown out most of the teams that they've played throughout the year. And I look forward to BYU continuing that trend in this game. I like BYU a lot in this game. I feel like they're going to win probably let's say like 38 to like 17, and it's just going to continue this trend, and they're going to move up the ranks again cuz you know they don't really like they beat Kansas State handedly. They beat who else did they beat? They beat someone else decent. Um Arizona
BYU, they beat Arizona.
and SMU was a very close game, and now SMU looks a lot better. So it's like that was a great win to get at the beginning of the year. I mean, BYU really is standing out. They have a real opportunity to get to the Big 12 championship game. They have UCF next week, Utah, which without Cam Rising is very suspect. Kansas is kind of middling right now. Arizona State is only a one-loss team, so that'll probably be their toughest game left on the schedule. I mean, there's a chance that BYU could go 11-1, and even if they don't win the Big 12 championship game, they could get into the playoffs. So at this point, you almost could assuredly stamp this BYU team into the playoff. I know obviously things can happen, but the rest of the teams that they play besides Arizona State are not very good, so they have a really good chance. Ian, your thoughts?
Yeah, with BYU, the strength of the team is on the defense, especially. They've only allowed more than 20 points once all year, and that was the Baylor game. They have a top 25 defense, and their offensive attack, like you said, isn't flashy, but it's very balanced, very effective on both the run and the pass. They get in those third and manageable situations. And on the other side with OK State, the run game just isn't there, and with the passing game, it's very erratic with trying to force the big plays without that running game clicking right now. And with BYU having a top 25 defense, I think it's going to cause havoc. I think BYU will just, smother the Cowboys here. I'm going to go Cougars winning this one 30-14.
Nice. Okay, next game we have is one of the first games on Saturday, which is Miami Louisville. I I posted something yesterday on the X account about just a joke about the refs being the reason that Miami's been so good this year, and got a lot of heat from Miami fans. Whatever, back and forth. I understand it. It's X. I'm not trying to like get a feud there, but let's talk about this as objectively as we can, and I'm going to. Miami's offense is the number one offense in the country, and especially the passing attack. And they're very capable to score a ton of points, and they've done that all year. Now, to counter that, this Louisville team is probably one of the better teams that they've played so far. And so I don't know if this Miami team is ready for that. It's a road game. It's an early kick. They, they'll definitely score points in this game. And I imagine like at least like a 34, like 31 game. And but Louisville, I like their offense. Shuck is growing on me the 9 years that he's been in college. And, he has developed, a deep ball a little bit now that I've seen in the last couple of games that I watch recaps. And, he's very capable. I know they lost the last two. What is it? They lost to SMU and then they lost to Notre Dame. So they're a little bit of a slide last couple of weeks, but they beat Virginia last week. And, this is one of those games, again, very similar to how the Va Tech game was a little bit. I felt like there's upset potential there. I feel like there's upset potential here as well. So, there is a chance that Louisville could win this game. And, Louisville has a very, competent offense. And I love, what's the wide receiver's name? God,
That's
he
Oh
put up
no!
a
Now his name is escaping me.
I'm gonna look up real quick. It's He had a huge game against
I think
SMU.
I think it's like Brooks.
Yeah, Ja'Cory Brooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns against SMU, and dude, that kid's a stud. So I'm not the biggest fan of Miami's defense. You know, Cal put up a ton of points on them and probably could have put more if they didn't uh, take their foot off the gas. You know, and Vatek scored on them pretty easily as well. I think a competent offense, which I think Louisville is, can score enough here. And then also you have to remember that Cam Ward makes a ton of mistakes. He put that game at risk in the Cal game, like with countless mistakes. That interception was one of the worst interceptions I think I've ever seen. Like it was so ugly, and I'm like, why are you throwing that? And he does that a lot. He throws across his body. He throws in the middle when he shouldn't be. When he should be either throwing it out or whatever. And he puts a lot of plays at risk. And I know that's his game, but you know, you play a fine line where you can lose those games easily. And that's where he probably lost a lot of games at Washington State because he was forcing things a lot. And I don't know. I'm still probably going to take Miami in this one just because I feel like they have enough offensively to be able to overcome all that. But this is a good Louisville team that can take it to them. And I feel like it's going to be close. And I'm just going to go with it, like I already said, 34-31 Miami. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, and I'm there with you because I feel like out of all the teams that are going to play for the rest of the year, we have seen when Miami like just is down, they get jumped on, and somehow they find a way, to come back and win it. But when you're playing a team like Louisville, out of the 3 teams, if they play like they did against Cal and Va Tech, I don't think they'll get away with it against Louisville because Louisville. I'm not saying they're more talented, but they would. I don't think they would let up either a lead or let Miami back in the game the way Vatek and Cal did. With that being said, like I said, it's very similar with Oregon at the beginning of the year. Miami just needs to stay focused. They, just make it easy for the Miami fans. Like, don't give them heart attacks. We know how good this offense is. So, just go out, score every drive when you can, and have the defense make the stops that we know they can. Now, with that, Louisville is going to try to go toe-to-toe with them, and if it comes down to the last play, that's exactly what Louisville is going to want. So if it's a close game, I wouldn't be surprised if Louisville pulls it out. But in the end, I'm going to take Miami based on the talent here, which has, quite frankly, been the reason they've won these games, among other things. So I'm going to go Miami winning this one. I'll go with a 34-25 win. The only other thing I wanted to note when doing the homework, the last time Miami beat Louisville in Louisville, Kentucky, when the crowd was at full capacity, because they did beat them in 2020 in Louisville, was 1984. Ooh. That was when Jimmy Johnson was starting at the University of Miami.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
Again, history is kind of favoring the Cardinal, but I think Miami bucks the trend here.
Yeah, and then the last thing I wanted to mention was just their schedule. They have some easy ones in Florida State and Wake Forest, and then they have Duke, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse. I think the Tech game probably is the most difficult one because Tech got them last year, and I feel like Tech is better this year, and I feel like Haynes King is like really starting to like make something of this team and like really putting, I mean, he looks good. Haynes King is like got a really good command of that offense. And, I like their chances in that game. But then you look at the Syracuse team, and that Syracuse team has only 1 loss as of right now. And like, it's in New York. So, it is the last game of the year, but, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it even matters though, if they get to that last game and they're still undefeated, because they'll more than likely get the ACC championship game. And then I think even if they lose the ACC championship game, Miami would then get into the playoff regardless because they would be 11-2. So I think if they get through these games up to Wake Forest, I think they're almost assuredly locked into a playoff spot regardless of their record the last 2 weeks of the season. Okay, moving on to... Let's see. We got Virginia Clemson. I put this game on here because Clemson is moving up the ranks. They had that one loss to Georgia, and now all of a sudden, people are starting to talk about them again. Cade Klubnik's looked really good. Their offense is humming. The defense is very stout. This Virginia team, you know, it's it's a good offense, but the problem is their red zone efficiency is like one of the worst in the country. So they're like moving the ball quite well, but not able to actually maximize drives with touchdowns and field goals. So they're really kind of shooting themselves in the foot a bit. And that's why their record is what it is. Defensively, they're better against the run than the pass. They're 49th against the run, only allowing 123 yards a game. I feel like Virginia will probably struggle defensively in this game, especially if they're so weak against the pass. 111th overall out of like 132. So it's obviously very bad. I feel like Klubnik's going to have a really good game. They may not run the ball a ton, but I feel like they're going to attack it through the air. And their defense, Clemson, is very stout and one of the better in the country. And I feel like they're going to be able to hold Virginia to probably the same thing, maybe even a bend don't break type instance here, like the old Tampa Bay Bucks cover 2, where it's like let them take the short stuff, don't give any explosives, and then when it gets closer to the red zone, that's the time to really dig deep and to get them off the field. And I feel like Clemson's defense is that good to be able to do something of that kind of strategy. So I feel like Clemson's going to win probably like 35 to like 17. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, while Virginia has been in games with a lot of these teams, like they were in it with, last week against Louisville, and they were in it, they won against Boston College in these games. I just feel like Clemson's just like rolling and they're starting to find their footing. Klubnik has really settled down. I think he's got over 15 touchdown passes already compared to the 2 interceptions. I just don't see Clemson, making that many mistakes for Virginia to capitalize. And that's what Virginia's only chance is going to be. So I'm going to take Clemson winning this one. I'll go with 34 to 14.
Nice. Okay. Next game we have is Nebraska and Indiana. Man, I'm excited about this game. I know it's like maybe 5 years you're gonna be like, what? Why are you excited about this game? But Nebraska, Indiana is one, it features this Nebraska team, which I feel like is trying to climb out of that hole that they've been in for the longest time. And then also Indiana, who is undefeated. And, this is a really good matchup, 5-1 versus 6-0. Indiana can score all over the place. Nebraska's got a really good defense. I think that Indiana is going to win this game because I think they're a better team. Their quarterback, God, what's his name? Let me see. Rourke. Yeah, dude, he's put up huge numbers so far this year, like crazy numbers for a guy that was unheralded and almost no one really knows who he is. Now people are starting to realize who he is. And, it's Cignetti. A reason why I'm focused on this because Florida fans have now been like a laser beam on, good coaches. And Cignetti, we talked about, had a really good start at JMU, James Madison, and now has really done extremely well at Indiana. First year there, 6-0, first time in like crazy amount of years. I don't even know. And then they had like, 5 straight games of 40 plus points, which was, I don't think it's ever happened for them there. And, they look really good. They are, complimentary football. The defense is really strong. The offense just dominates every game. The Cignetti, his MO is that he really tailors his teams towards attacking with what they have and attacking the opposing teams with what their weaknesses are, and that's what you should do. I don't know, the like, MO for Billy Napier is to go against teams with the same game plan no matter what, regardless of whoever the tendencies are. And it's like, no, you need to be attacking according to their weaknesses and make the most out of it. It just makes the most sense. It's like, it's logical. It's like, the strategy should be there. I don't know, but this Indiana team has a lot to like about it. And this is just the beginning, because their schedule gets a little bit more difficult. They have Washington the next week, and then they have what is it? They have Michigan and Ohio State after that. So they have some tough games coming up here, especially the Michigan and Ohio State games. But, if they win into the Ohio State game, they would be 10-0. And, I think regardless of that result in that game, that they would more than likely get into the playoff. Because if they're 10-0 coming into that game, even if they lose that game, they have Purdue the next week. They could easily win. And I don't know what the Big Ten standings are right now, but it seems like Oregon is definitely slotted for one spot for the championship, especially if they keep winning, which I think they will. Even one loss doesn't take them out. But, so if they lose to Ohio State, it would be Ohio State. So they almost would waltz into a playoff spot without having to play that extra game. I mean, they'd have to play a home game, which would be kind of cool. See Indiana get a home playoff game. But this, still remarkable story, this Indiana team. There's a lot to like here. And I'm finally going to get to the results of my prediction. So I'm going to say Indiana, I'm going to say continues the trend of the 40 plus. I'm going to say 40 to 31, and maybe Indiana scores late to make it look a lot bigger result than it actually was, and it was actually closer to the very end. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, and with Nebraska on the other hand, defensively, this is going to be Indiana's toughest sets. Both teams actually defensively, because as good as Indiana's offense has been, the defense has been just as good. They're in the top 10 in the country in defense, and I think Nebraska is just outside the top 10 right now on defense. So this might actually, as much as we like to see the fireworks, I think who has the better defense is really going to come in handy, especially the better secondary. And right now, I think Indiana has that. I think it's going to be close. But I feel like with Indiana, the key is when they are not going to be able to just score on every drive. I don't think that's going to happen like it has in the past couple weeks, because I do feel like Nebraska is just going to play in front of them, or have them play in front of them and then attack. But what they do is how they can adjust to that, and I think that's the key, is that Indiana can do that. Nebraska, I think, is going to make it close, and this is the one game where it can go the other way, and I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I think Indiana pulls off maybe a late field goal to win it. I'm going to take them, but I would not be surprised if Nebraska wins this one too. I'm going to go Indiana winning. I'm going to go 31-28. I think it's going to be close.
Nice. Okay, next game we've got is UCLA Rutgers. And I don't know what to make of this UCLA team. They definitely are very deficient in scoring. And, you're not going to win many games if you can only score 17 points every game. And the defense is not, dog crap. It definitely is a decent defense. It's just they cannot score at all. The entire year, the most they've scored has been 17 points. And, they have to start scoring points. They got to figure this out. I know Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, hasn't coached college kids in a long time, or if he ever has, he's been in the NFL for a long time. So he's trying to figure things out. Garber's coming in on Saturday looked good. They were up 10-0 at half, and then 17-14, I believe, late into the game, and they just couldn't hold on. Again, they need to be able to score. You can't just, you can move the ball, but you have to be able to finish in the red zone, and that's been a huge problem from them. And this Rutgers team, they're offensively, they run the ball very well, but they are terrible in the passing attack and 115th in the country and only average about 175 yards a game. Defensively, it's flipped of that. It's their rushing attack is very minimal, and their passing defense is pretty strong. So I feel like they should try to run the ball against Rutgers. That would be the smart move here. And I feel like their defense is good enough to keep Rutgers in check. It's a cross-country flight. I don't know. At this point, they've only got one win, and that was against Hawaii. They've looked competitive in some games, especially that LSU game. In the Minnesota game, they were competitive. I just don't know what to make of this team. And it sucks because it's like, there is some talent on this team. They just can't. They're just snake bitten, and much like USC as well. I feel like they can win this game, but I feel like Rutgers is probably going to win, and it's probably going to be close. It's probably going to be like a 21-17 a game, 17 again, and 17 points. Just what they're slotted at. It's just what their ceilings. They can't get any higher. So that's my thoughts. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, and I think this one, both teams offensively have struggled. I know in the Big Ten, UCLA is dead last in offense, and Rutgers is kind of middle of the pack right now. But Rutgers, they got blown out against Wisconsin. Then they lost a close one to Nebraska. But then they've gotten some sneaky wins against Vatech and Washington.
Yeah,
never crossing the 30-point plateau in either of those wins though. The thing, and the one stat I remember seeing, and this was after the USC Minnesota game, out of the West Coast Big Ten teams, nobody has traveled, gone east, past their Western time zone and won a game yet. And with that, I think UCLA will score 20 points, but I think Rutgers scores just enough more to win it, because I just don't see UCLA putting up on more than enough points. So I think Rutgers pulls out the win. I'm going to go with a 24-21 win for the Scarlet Knights.
Sorry, Richard. The losing continues. Okay. Next game we have is East Carolina Army. They're both ranked. Army and Navy are now ranked, everybody. So we're going to start talking about them a lot more. And they look really good, especially this Army team that has a really good defense. And, I don't expect much out of East Carolina just because, Army is pretty stout in all phases of the game. East Carolina got smoked by Charlotte 2 weeks ago. And then they beat UTSA, lost to Liberty, lost to App State. So this team is not very good. And, Army's just way better than most of the teams in the AAC right now. And it's not even really close because their ground game and their option is they're going to pulverize teams with it. And they're so smooth with it. And they've got, great running backs and halfbacks to be able to make it work. And the quarterback is a stud. He's been making a lot of plays. And, I expect Army to be in this game at least 35 points, probably 40, but I'm just going to land on 38. And I'm going to say they win 38 to probably 17. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, with East Carolina, when doing the homework, their defense is ranked, I think, in the kind of near the 70 range right now in college football. And I know they're in top 5 actually in the American, but the one crux of it is that they've actually given up more than an average of 125 yards per game on the ground, and that is a recipe for disaster against Army, this ground and pound team. So I feel like with that, I don't with them just wearing East Carolina down, I feel like towards the end the dam is going to break and Army will put up enough distance between them. I'm going to take Army winning. I don't see East Carolina just, with Army playing keep away, getting enough opportunities to score. So I'm going to go Army winning. I'll go 30-20 Army.
Yeah, and Army, 369.8 yards per game on the ground. And it's like 70 yards or 70 yards more than anyone else close to them. So, and that's Navy is the other close team and Boise State. And so they run the ball. That's what they do. And no one can really stop them in the AAC. I don't think anybody. And I am very curious to see how good defenses in, like a team like Alabama, a team like Tennessee with a good defense, team like Georgia, team like Ohio State, team like Clemson, how do they match up against them? And it'll be very interesting because there is a very high likelihood that Army runs out the schedule and ends up undefeated and, probably wins the AAC. And if that's the case, they're going to get the group of 5 spot. The one game that definitely sticks out, well, 2, the one for sure is Notre Dame, because that game will, man, I'm excited about that. That is, I think, Thanksgiving weekend. Army Notre Dame, probably one of the biggest Army Notre Dame games we've seen in decades. And then at the end of the season with Army Navy, that could be probably the biggest Army Navy game we've seen in like a century almost, which is crazy to say that, but it's just the reality. These teams have not both been ranked in that matchup in a long time, I don't think. And, they could be even higher by the time that game even happens. They could be 15, like a top 15 matchup. So excited about that. Definitely a big Army fan because of, being an Army ROTC for a year at USF. But let's move on to Alabama, Tennessee, third week in October. I don't think it is. Yeah, it is. Because sometimes they're moving these games around now because the schedule has changed. But
Florida and Tennessee is no longer third week of September.
Right. Yeah. So things have changed now that the schedule is different. But let's move into this game. So I like Alabama in this game a lot because I feel like I know it's in Knoxville, and it's crazy that Tennessee got both the Florida and the Alabama game right back in a row at home. It's pretty fortunate, but I think after such a tough game that Tennessee played against Florida, I feel like, and Alabama had a tough game against South Carolina. There's no denying that. But I feel like Florida, Tennessee is a rivalry game, and there's a lot more emotion there. I think South Carolina is not as much emotion. They don't play each other as often, or they haven't in years past. They'll start to play more often going forward. But, Milroe is still a top candidate for potentially getting to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. I like him a lot in this game. I feel like Tennessee, their defense is very strong and may be able to keep him in check, but I like Milroe a ton because I felt like Lagway played pretty well against Tennessee for the most part. I just didn't love the play calling, and I feel like Alabama's play calling is better than Florida's. And I'm not the biggest fan of Nico. I am a Lueva, or I had it last night because I was watching the game again.
I'm a Vila, I think.
We're trying. So, we're trying. Sorry, Nico. We're butchering it. No, Nico, I'm just not the biggest fan of. He struggled. Samson is a stud running back, and he's already put up like 14 or 15 touchdowns or whatever. So, he will get his. But I think if they keep Nico in check and just let the run game do whatever it does, I think they just need to focus on pressuring Nico, make him make mistakes, which he does. He's, fumbled and throwing interceptions. So like he's definitely, and he's not immensely accurate. So like you can make him make mistakes, make him play like the redshirt freshman that he is. And I think Alabama's got a good enough defense to do that. And I think they win probably like a 31 to like probably 20 game. What do you got, Ian?
So both of these teams are actually mirroring each other after the last 3 weeks. Both teams 3 weeks ago come off huge marquee wins that was circled in the calendar. Bama beat Georgia and Tennessee beat Oklahoma. Then the next week, completely face plant. Bama loses to Vandy, Tennessee loses to Arkansas. Then the week after, coming back home, get beyond ugly wins against bottom feeder teams that they needed help to win late. They barely beat South Carolina, Alabama, and Tennessee had to go to overtime against Florida. Not to mention the fact that, again, doing the homework, the last time Tennessee beat Bama back to back, like in Knoxville, beat them in Knoxville in two meetings in a row, was 2004 and 2006. Those meetings. So that was when Eric Ainge was quarterback at Tennessee. Yes. Yeah. With all of that being said,
Clausen.
Yeah. With all of that being said, I feel like right now, if there's like both these teams need to win bad, and they need a good one. But it might be a game of ugly football. I wouldn't be surprised. But I feel like this would be my upset pick of the week. I think Tennessee can pull it off. I think Tennessee can jump on a spiraling Bama team that just seems like directionless right now. I mean, like the play calling isn't like as atrocious as people are saying, but they're just ever since the second half of Georgia, it has been a completely different team, and they're relying on talent to win games rather than the team itself. Tennessee at least was a better team than Florida and relied on that to win. They took advantage of that. And I feel like with that, Tennessee wins probably another close one with these two. But I think Tennessee pulls it off. I'm going to go Volunteers winning. Let's go like 31-27 Vols.
Nice. Okay. Next game we have is Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, which, this Notre Dame team, I don't know what to make of it because, like, in some ways, they've gotten better since that Northern Illinois loss. They smoked Purdue, and, they've just been kind of chugging along, and most people haven't been paying too much attention to them because of that loss. But they are only a one-loss team, and Riley Leonard is a good quarterback. They have, they beat Louisville, which was a solid win. The rest of their schedule, they have Tech this week, Navy, and then they have Army and who else? Florida State, Virginia, USC. Army, Navy, and USC and Tech are really tough games. They all have really good offenses. I would say probably Army is the best team out of those four. And I would say USC probably second, and then probably Tech. So they have a lot of tough games here in the next couple of weeks. So we will see what they're made of and if they have a chance to get into the playoff. I think a 2-loss Notre Dame team is good enough to get into the playoff. I don't know if they're going to have 2 losses, though, because I just don't like the chances of them only getting one more. I think they're going to get at least 2 more losses. And so they're 9-3. They could still get in, but 9-3 is a lot harder because some of their schedule has been pretty soft. So I like this Tech team a lot. Their offense is really sound, both sides, both running and passing. 25th rushing attack and 59th passing attack, led by Haynes King, like we talked about earlier. Defensively against the run, they're 23rd, which is really good, but they struggle against the pass. They're 82nd. So you can have them in the passing attack. Riley Leonard, is he's an athletic quarterback who uses his mobility to be able to help his passing attack. I feel like he's accurate enough to take advantage of that here. And I feel like Notre Dame's going to win. So I'm going to say Notre Dame wins like, I'm going to go like 27 to like 20. What do you got, Ian?
I think this is going to be a really low scoring game. Both teams win based on defense, and both of them have very athletic quarterbacks, Haynes Kane and Riley Leonard. But I feel like Notre Dame has more playmakers right now. So I think Notre Dame gets the edge just barely. I think it might be like a field goal contest, honestly. I'm going to take the Irish winning in a low scoring one. I'll go 20 to 16 Irish.
Okay, next game we have is Michigan, Illinois. This Illinois team, very sneaky, very very stout. And this Michigan team, their biggest weakness is they don't have a passing attack at all. Orgy can't pass the ball pretty much at all. He's very athletic. The other quarterback, I can't remember his name offhand, but he's not that. What is it? Warner. He's not that good either. So they're very limited in their passing attack, but they can run the ball. The Donovan, he's solid running back, and the other bevy of backs there too. So they can move the ball on the ground, but if it comes to a track meet game, they really don't have the horses to be able to stay into it. And so I like Illinois in this because Illinois, with their quarterback, has been able to move the ball and has been effective. They looked good in a lot of their games. It was a close game against Purdue, which is surprising, but they beat Nebraska and they were in the game with Penn State even to the very end. So I like Illinois in this game. It's in Champaign. I'm going to say Illinois wins probably like a 28 to like 17 game. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, and like I said, I do the homework with these. Illinois has not beaten Michigan since 2009. It has been a series dominated by Michigan. Now, credit, they've been on and off because of divisions now, but now that that's gone, they play each other more. With you hit the nail on the head. It's a run-heavy team with Michigan. They always have, but without the safety valve of the passing game, it's going to be very difficult. Illinois actually, against the run, hasn't been very good this year. I think they averaged giving up over 150 yards per game. So that's what the key is going to be, is how well Illinois is able to plug the line, and if Michigan is able to get enough passing plays. Because if Michigan can rely on some play action passes, I think they can pull it out. But the difference is that Illinois has a better offensive attack, better passing. Atmeyer, I think he's got 14 touchdowns, and I know he only has one pick. And it's been a completely other story on the other side. So I'm going to take Illinois winning this one based on that. I think the offense will be able to score enough to where Michigan cannot keep up, and the defense will get enough stops. I'm going to go find the Illini winning 27-19.
Nice. Okay, next game we have is another team we cover, USF. UAB, USF. UAB is not very good. They can pass the ball a little bit, but outside of that, they really struggled running the ball. Their passing defense is good. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Now, their passing defense is strong, but everything else is terrible. Run offense is 140 yards a game. Passing offense is 215 a game, both 85th in the nation. Their running defense is the worst in the country, 258 a game. So this is a game for USF to run the ball and run the ball a ton. And so if they can, get Joyner and Naquan Wright, into the mix and just slashing this team, I think they have a real good opportunity to get the offensive going again. They don't have to, force the throws too much. They can just focus on getting the run offense back up to snuff, because it's been really struggling the last couple of weeks because for whatever reason, they didn't run the ball at all against Memphis. And even though they tried, they just couldn't. And, that game wasn't like it was that far out of reach. They could have run the ball to be able to get back in that game. They just couldn't run the ball. But I expect them to be able to run the ball here. I like USF to win this game, probably like 33 to 24 game. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, for USF, this is a beyond must-win game. You have to, after getting blown out to Tulane and having a bad loss to Memphis, this is a game you have to win and end, the middle of October strong. With or without Byron Brown is going to be the key, because we saw how bad it could be without him. With that, it's good that UAB's defense against the run is as weak as it is, and they have to take advantage of that. That means, Naquan Wright, Joyner, they have to be able to gash them when they can. And defensively, they have to step up and make the plays, make the picks, really force Zeno to make the bad plays, get pressure on him. This is, like I said, this is as must-win as must-win gets. You have lost, they've lost, what, 4 in a row now? 3 in a row?
No, they beat Southern Miss.
Oh, Southern Miss was after Bama. Okay.
Yeah, after Bama, yeah.
So, but they have lost, given up over 40 points the first 2 games, and they have not even crossed the 20-point mark. They haven't scored more than 15 points since that Southern Miss game. So This is their chance to do it, and they have to, come out firing here. I'm going to take USF winning, and it's going to come down to how well the run game goes and how well they can take advantage of it. I feel like UAB just doesn't have – it's just kind of a mess right now that they won't be able to hang with them. And hopefully USF can take advantage. So I'm going to go Bulls winning. I'll go 28 to 10.
Yeah, and the last 3 weeks, UAB has given up a total of 155 points between the 3 games. 100, dude, that's an average of 51.5 a game. 51 points a game they've given up the last 3 weeks. That is ridiculous. That's beyond bad. So this is definitely a get right game for USF for sure. Okay. Next game we haven't talked about them, but just mentioned it earlier. Navy going up against Charlotte. I just wanted to start talking about Navy, so it's a reason so we can watch their highlights and watch them play. Navy, second best rushing offense in the country, 295 average per game. Obviously, they don't pass a ton. Neither Navy or Army do. But Navy's defense isn't as good as Army's defense. So I think that's the difference when you're looking at the service academy teams, is that Navy can run the ball, but their defense is kind of their weak link. And that keeps a lot of these games a little bit closer than the Army games, where the Army's just blowing them out. But Navy still has looked good. In that Memphis game, that's probably the toughest team they've played so far, and they put up a ton of points, and their offense can score. They won 56-44, and I like this Navy team a lot, but defensively is their weakness. It's not going to matter in this game. Charlotte is not very good. Charlotte has really struggled to be competitive all year, and they got smoked by Indiana. They beat Rice, but they beat East Carolina pretty handedly. Let's see whatever their other totals are, but I don't know, the Charlotte team. Well, they lost to North Carolina. They lost to James Madison. So I don't like Charlotte in this game. I like Navy pretty big. I'm going to say Navy wins 41 to 17. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, and Navy, second best run offense. They have the best offense in the American, and Charlotte has the worst overall defense in the American Conference right now. So it's not really looking good for Charlotte. And even then, their wins, besides East Carolina, they beat Gardner-Webb by 1, and then they beat Rice by 1 point as well.
Yeah.
Not really impressive. So I think Navy controls the game here. I'm going to go Navy winning 35-14.
Okay, next game we have is Maryland and USC Maryland, and it's in Maryland. So USC, just like UCLA, is going to have to take a cross country trip. This Maryland team, they are 93rd rushing attack, but they can pass the ball. And I think that's what their focus is. They have a really good passing attack, 303 yards through the air, 14th in the country. Their defense is flip-flop from that. Their rushing defense is 27th, only allowing 106 yards a game, but their passing defense is 108th, so 258 yards per game they allow. So I like USC to be able to move the ball here through the air. Miller Moss might have a really good game here. And the defense, I think, is stout enough. They gave up a lot of yards against Penn State, but I think, I think that Penn State game, is maybe a bit of an outlier because Penn State is one of the better teams in the country right now. So that may stand out. I don't think Maryland is anywhere near how good Penn State is. So I believe USC is going to be able to keep them in check a little bit. And I like Miller Moss to be able to do better in this game. And this is a get back game because I thought they were going to get back last week, but this is the get right game. And I feel like they should win this game. I know it's cross country, so it's going to be a struggle there, but I feel like if they score at least 28-32, that they should win the game. And I'm going to say they win let's say 30-24. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, same thing. I feel like if USC can score more than 24 points, they'll be able to get the win because Maryland's, they got blown out against Northwestern and then blown out against Indiana like everybody else. And the wins they've had, they beat Villanova and they beat, I know they beat Virginia by 20.
Yeah.
But with USC, Maryland in the Big Ten is near the bottom of the Big Ten in defense, and that is exactly what USC needs because all the teams they've been playing have had top tier defenses.
Yeah.
So I feel like USC will get enough moving around with Miller Moss to score enough points. The key is going to be how well the secondary does for USC. If the secondary can step up and clog the lanes, I feel like this will be all USC. I'm going to go Trojans winning. I think they're going to be the first of the West Coast teams of the Big Ten to get a cross-country win. So I'm going to go Trojans winning. Let's do 38-19.
Yeah, and there was a couple of red shirts for USC, the linebacker, and I can't remember the other player, but both on defense. So it kind of hurts there, but they have enough talent on the defense to make up for it. So let's move on to Texas A&M and Mississippi State. This Mississippi State team looked very good last week against Georgia. So, this Texas A&M team only has that one loss to Notre Dame. Do they make it a game here? I feel like Texas A&M is good enough now that Wegman has been running the show and doing quite well, and the offense is putting up points. And I think Mississippi State may make it a game. Their quarterback that came in for I can't remember the guy that got injured for Mississippi State, but their quarterback now is very athletic and he's moving the ball. And it gave Georgia a lot of fits being able to stop him. So I like A&M to win, but it's going to be close. I'm going to say probably a 31-22 game. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be for A&M to win. They're going to have to keep it low scoring, and I feel like they can. Mississippi State, the only way they're going to win is if they, are able to throw the ball around. Van Buren was the guy who was put in. but I feel like
Yeah.
A&M is just going to find a way to get to the quarterback more. And I feel like that game against Georgia was more of a letdown game for Georgia than anything else. And credit to
Yeah.
Mississippi State, they're trying to jump on them. But I feel like A&M is going to be more focused. Even though it's in Starkville, I think A&M gets the win here. I'm going to go 27-17.
Nice. And it could be a little bit of a trap game because next week is LSU, but we'll see. I mean, I like A&M in this one. Okay, next game we got is Arkansas, Georgia. You know, Arkansas, LSU, sorry. I really like this Arkansas team. I've been, very excited with how they've played. They should have beat Oklahoma State, and they should have beat what's the other team they lost to?
They A&M.
A&M. Yeah. So they right now, I think more like the one that they should have won out of both those games, they should have beat Oklahoma State. So right now they'd only be a one-loss team with a nice win against Tennessee. So they would be like firmly in the top 15. And if it weren't for that Oklahoma State loss. So this game, a rivalry game, huge rivalry between these two. I like LSU's offense a lot. I think they played really well against Ole Miss, and they were able to move the ball quite well. Their defense is strong enough, but I like Arkansas with Green. If he stays healthy, I like Arkansas to be able to move the ball and to score enough points to be able to win this one. It's going to be close. I'm going to say like a 28-27 game and maybe even like a last second field goal. And I feel like Arkansas, I'm calling it. This is my upset. I'm going to say Arkansas wins it, and I'm riding it high off of them beating Tennessee. So I feel like Arkansas wins this one, like I said, 28-27. Ian, what do you got?
Yeah, I think this game is going to be much closer because we saw how Arkansas can play up to teams. LSU, on the other hand, defensively has been a bit of a struggle. They were able to pull out the win against Ole Miss in last week, but they they got real lucky against South Carolina, and with Ole Miss, I mean they again were able to find a way to win in this one. If Arkansas can hold them to within 30 points, Arkansas is in this. Arkansas is going to have to play this the same way they played it against Tennessee. They're going to have to keep it low scoring. They're going to have to get to LSU's passing attack when they can. I feel like with that, they probably can. But the difference is that LSU has more playmakers at wide receiver than Tennessee did right now.
Right.
So I feel like when it comes down to a blitz package, LSU and Nussmeier can get the quick out route before it's too late. So I think LSU makes the most of their possessions. And I think they win close. This is one, if Arkansas pulls off the upset, I won't be surprised. But I think LSU is going to take the golden boot. I'm going to go Tigers winning very close. I'll go with a 34-29 win.
Nice. Okay. Georgia, Texas. So now this is the big matchup, the big top 5 matchup between the two. Or is Georgia? Yeah, 5. So 5 versus 1. So we got blessed last week with 2 versus 3. Now we get 1 versus 5. It's in Austin. Georgia kind of a little bit bewildered right now. They had that loss against Alabama where they had to come back, and then they lost anyways. And then Texas has kind of been riding high. They beat Michigan pretty handedly. They had their way with Oklahoma. So, Texas now gets their first real test of the year. I like Texas a lot. I like Quinn Ewers. I've been a huge fan of Quinn Ewers the last couple of years. He's looked great. I expect him, if he stays healthy and can put up better numbers and continues to be undefeated for Texas, to potentially be in New York for the Heisman. I know his numbers are not going to be as great because of those games he missed, but I still like his chances because he is the quarterback of the best team in the country, which usually is leeway towards that person. So I like him to play well in this game. I know he didn't look great in the Oklahoma game. He did well enough. I think the rest of their team is amazing. The offense puts up a ton of points. They can move the ball many different ways, running, passing attack. The defense is very stout and very strong against both the run and the pass. Georgia is able to move the ball and they can put up points. They put up points against Alabama. They can put up points here, and I think they will. Their defense has not looked as sharp as in years past. I don't know if that's per se because people are, the last week was more of a running quarterback against Georgia, and so they were able to get yards there. Milrose, same, the 2 weeks before. So, Ewers is not as mobile as those guys, but he's definitely very capable, and I feel like he can pick them apart a bit. I expect this game to be close. Maybe even, last team has the ball wins type thing. So I'm going to go with like a 34-31 game, and I'm going to say Texas. I like Texas in this one. I feel like they're the best team in the country, and they're going to keep winning out. Who do you got, Ian?
Whoever wins the turnover battle in this game is going to win the game. And it's just going to come down to it because both teams know you're playing a good team. You're going to have to take advantage of every possession you get. So if you give the ball away, one, you got to capitalize, and two, for the other team, you got to do everything you can to stop them. The one key is that Georgia has actually relied a lot on the passing game and Carson Beck, and Beck has been very good this year. But when it comes down to low-scoring games, they are very, when the passing game is not working, they really struggle. And the bad news is that Texas, not only do they have the number one defense in the SEC in the country, they have the number two pass defense in all of college football. And Texas has yet to give up more than 13 points all year. Now, This is easily their toughest test. They haven't played a team like Georgia yet. But I feel like Texas, a lot of these guys, it's, they're coming back from, the championship run last year. They've been in these big games. Same with Georgia. And I don't think Georgia is going to give up 29 points like they did against Bama that first game. But I feel like Texas will control the game in this one. And I think the defense of Texas gets enough turnovers. The key also is going to be when they cover, who is the out route going to be? Are they going to let Ewers run, or are they going to find some drag or slant routes to kind of create separation? But I feel like Texas has enough to win it. I think it'll be, this might be a preview of the SEC championship. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think the Longhorns win. I'm going to go with a 35-27 win for Texas.
Nice. Okay. Last two, we've got Kansas State, West Virginia. Again, I really like this Kansas State team. Probably my favorite to win the Big 12 championship. West Virginia is a little banged up after losing to Iowa State last week. I like Kansas State in this game just because Avery Johnson is a very capable quarterback and the maestro there, and effective on the ground. The running attack for Kansas State is really strong, and they're using the passing attack to complement what they're doing with their running attack. So they're very balanced, and their defense is good enough. And West Virginia, I don't know, Garrett Green has kind of struggled. He didn't look that great last week, had some mistakes, and I think Kansas State can force him into mistakes this week as well. And I feel like Kansas State can win. So I'm going to say Kansas State wins 34-20. What do you got, Ian?
Yeah, I'm on the same thing. I just think Kansas State has a good enough team to win, and they're going to be balanced enough to keep West Virginia on their toes. So I'm going to take the Wildcats winning. I'll go K-State winning 30-16.
From one Wildcat to another Wildcat, Kentucky going up against Florida. Kentucky's won 3 in a row. So, I don't think anyone Florida fan would have thought that they would go from winning 30 plus games in a row against Kentucky to now being on the other end of a streak. I don't like, growing up, I always just thought that Florida just always beat Kentucky. And now we're here where Napier just can't seem to beat this team. I don't know. Mark Stoops seems to have his number, but I don't know. Napier just play calling against Tennessee was very suspect. They had times where they were moving the ball. And then when they got bogged down to 4th and 1s and 1st and goals, and they really struggled. I know obviously Mertz fumbled there, which, you didn't see coming. But, if you have DJ Lagway on a 4th and 1, you run him up the middle and you get that first down. But they got cute and they ran a jet sweep and it didn't work. Other things just didn't work. They were running into the box with way too many defenders there instead of maybe taking their chances with a passing play. They were just beating their head into the wall, like, oh, we gotta go through this 8 men in the box or 7 men in the box, we can do it. And it's like, come on, man, take advantage of what you have and make the most out of it and try to force them into into going against their weaknesses right there. And I don't know, it's something that this offense has just been such a struggle all year. And but now we see DJ Lagway, and I know Mertz is done for the year, but DJ now has an opportunity to make the most of it. A lot of us had wanted to see him play. We're getting that opportunity here. He is a very talented quarterback and has done well in the opportunities that he's had. That pass he had on Saturday against Tennessee was a thing of beauty. And, I'm excited to see what he does with his future. I hope that, regardless of what happens with Billy Napier's tenure, that DJ stays on. We don't know what will happen, but this is now the DJ Lagway era. We have officially entered that, and it is promising. He is a very athletic, strong-armed quarterback who can make a ton of plays and has a ton of confidence. And, it's evident, he has that it factor. I know I talked about it on this, the Monday show, but I just like DJ Lagway a ton, and I'm excited to see what he does. They should be able to beat Kentucky with DJ playing the whole game. I feel like they're a better team. They can score at least 30 points. And I don't like this Kentucky team to score much at all. And the defense for Florida has been playing way better. Last 2 games, they held UCF to only, I believe, 13 points. It was 13 points. And then they held Tennessee to like 20 something. So they have the ability to hold teams in check now, and they're playing way better. Jason Marshall has been playing unreal. Devin Moore has been really sound out there. Linebackers, Pup Howard and Shamar James are amazing. And the defensive line has been getting to the quarterback. So I feel like they can get to Vandergriff here. He doesn't scare me at all. I think they have one of the worst passing attacks in the entire country. It's 121st, and running wise, they're not that much better, 75th. So they can be had on defense. And I think the only thing that really stands out for Kentucky here is that their defense is very strong. So I like Kentucky's defense here to be able to hold Florida in check. But again, Florida's defense is going to be able to hold Kentucky in check. So a low scoring game. I'm going to say like a 24 like 11 game. What do you got, Ian?
If this game is more than the 20-point mark, like if some team scores 20, 21 and over, I'll be very surprised. I think, because the problem is that Kentucky's defense is very strong, while their offense hasn't really had it together, and Florida's defense is certainly turning a curve. The thing it's going to come down to is how well, because this is going to be a thing, like talent's going to have to win, because I don't trust coaching in this one, is how well Lagway is going to play. This is his first test, and it's a very tough defense he's going to play. If they simplify the game plan, short passes, maybe one streak or read options, something like that, that's going to be the key. I feel like, though, dude, Kentucky's had Napier's number. Every time they have played, it has been an embarrassing loss or it has exposed Florida. And also to mention that Napier has historically struggled when he's playing like any team that's in the top half defensively, again in the SEC. They have been terrible. So I think there's no reason to prove me wrong when all the other meetings have gone the other way. I don't know. As good as Lagway is, I just feel like something's going to get in the way. I can't not ignore that. It's going to be like 4th and 1, and then it's going to be like a wide receiver pass that gets picked off. I can't not trust it. So I don't know. Like, Florida does have the better team, but I always have a sinking feeling in these games. I don't know. They're going to have to prove me wrong. Again, doing homework, Kentucky has never won 2 meetings in a row in the Swamp ever. And this is a series that has gone back since the 40s. The only other time they have won 2 meetings in Florida as the home team was in 1951 and 1949. And the 1949 game was in Tampa. And also, for reference, Bear Bryant was the coach of Kentucky. So it's been that long. So
80 years.
Yeah. But man, I don't know. I can't trust this team, so I'm gonna go Kentucky 20-14.
I hope not, because I really don't want to see this team lose 3 times in a row to Kentucky. I'm tired of it. It'll be nice now that we don't have to play them every year after next year. So, but it would be nice to at least get one game, one more victory before we stop playing them every year. But regardless, this team has just been a struggle. And like I said, though, DJ Lagway's coming in and it is a home game. And I feel like this game is a winnable game for Florida. And I feel like
this is the last winnable game for a while.
Yeah. Well, Florida State.
Yeah.
So, those are the 2 winnable games. So we'll see. Okay. That is the show. We do this show every Sunday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, X, Instagram, and Facebook. You can check it there or aired afterwards on all those formats as well. Our website is haterradio.com for all of our articles. For X, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, it is at @hater_radio. For Facebook, it is Hater Radio CFB. For YouTube, it is at Hater Radio. Ian, what are your socials before we go?
Yes, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, it's at G_Gator_G.
That's the show. Enjoy these games, and we'll talk to you on Sunday. All right, take care.